you'd mentioned the more media changes, the more it stays the same. There are mainly two business models out here, subscriptions or ads. And we've spoken about ads so far. Hopefully things will get better when publishers get together out here. Now let's focus on subscriptions, right? So we see the likes of Netflix, who've been mainly running only subscriptions and been very vocal saying that they will be only subscriptions and never look at ads. And now jumping on the ad bandwagon, trying to see how they can bring a lower price product into the market subsidized with ads, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, we also see subscriptions. Everybody who started with a subscription product saw phenomenal growth in the first few years, but now we see everyone having a plateau, right? It's tapering off. It's not that exponential or the linear graph at all. It is getting to be a flattened curve towards the top. Is this something that you're seeing across the world? Is this something that you're seeing across industries as well?
I think it is. So Netflix is a very good example because Netflix saw its plateau after reaching 220 million subs, right? So I think everyone ends up, when you kind of look at a business plan, and I've done so many of them, you kind of look at as sort of, a populace and say all of them are going to subscribe to us, right? That is the universe that we want to subscribe to us. Like, the New York Times has sort of planted a flag and said our universe is 100 million, right? Semaphore, my former boss, Justin, who's a brilliant guy, who's sort of said their universe is about 200 million. You kind of count your universe as the readership on it, which is all, which is obviously the most optimistic view of what that universe looks like. Now, 2 years ago, I had written a piece for Bloomberg Quint itself, which was on a subscription equilibrium, right? And I do believe there's a subscription equilibrium for each one of us. And in that equilibrium, in that world, we are our competitors, and the competitors to publishers are not just other publishers. And that's a mistake. Most publishers end up looking at other publishers as their competitors. No. Much like Netflix said their competitor was sleep. A long time ago, very famously, Reid Hoffman had said, my competition is sleep. It's not, actually, it's Disney Plus. But anyway, let's call it sleep at that time. But very similarly, I think our competitor, every app on your phone is essentially a competitor in the subscription world. Every app which you pay for, from LinkedIn, from all those food apps that you kind of have, which you're taking pros, all of them are essentially part of your subscription sort of thing. I mean, I had put in that piece, I had written that I put $100, say, put an imaginary figure of $100 as, say, my subscription equilibrium, right? That's where it hits $100 and I say, okay, fine, I probably won't it's not, I'm not going to do it more of those. But essentially, everyone has that at some point where you reach that point where I cannot subscribe to more things, which means that you kind of reach a point where you have two publications, two or three entertainment, because entertainment is the one bit that everyone makes a sort of flexibility. You got, Lord of the Rings in Amazon. You got sort of House of Dragon and Hotstar, so you need both, right? So you kind of, and then in this Netflix, something you like in Netflix. So you kind of have three, but you kind of get to a point where you cannot subscribe to more, and that is the biggest threat to a publication. So that is where you kind of hit and then say, okay, that's where growth is limited. By the way, Netflix hit that, and they essentially decided ads is where they're going to go, despite the fact that just 3 years ago, and I think I wrote that in that piece that you mentioned, where 3 years ago, Reid Hoffman said they don't see themselves getting into ads ever. But now they've kind of had to reverse that because they've hit that equilibrium. And I think all publications are going to hit it very soon. And that equilibrium for most publications is not going to be 200 million. I wish, but it's not. But it's going to be, New York Times, for instance, saw growth from, say, 1.5, 1.6 million million subscribers in 2015 to end of 2015 to about 10 million today. That includes their acquisitions, but essentially 10 million today. 10 million is a huge number for a publication, right? Now, I don't know if that 10 is 100. It could be because it's New York Times. But if it is, it'll be among the 1 or 2 apps that I was just talking to you about that'll be in your publisher list by 100 million people, right? So that's how you should look at it. So when I look at publications and the subscription strategy, and if I were still running a media company, and you could in the first, who knows, I would have a media presence. I would always look at it as you competing against each and every app on your mobile phone. I look at all of them as competition. So I do think that it will hit. The publication subscriptions are still too small to actually be able to have hit the limit yet. And we don't know what that limit is. It may be fictional. We know that Netflix limit is 220 million. They're saying, okay, fine, 220 million. This is where we're hitting it. It looks like Disney Plus is going to hit that. We have not yet seen what that limit is. Who sets the limit? I think it's going to be New York Times who's going to set that limit of 10 million, 12 million, 13 million, whatever that limit is. And then you'll see slowdown in their growth. And that will be the sign that that's the limit that a publication can reach. I don't think we have hit that limit, but we will. We will soon. We're going to have the same problem that Netflix and entertainment has, because in entertainment, it is in sport, entertainment, etc. There's a need for it. There are cycles. There's something like Lord of the Rings is an example. You might want to subscribe to it for a while, and then it might see a dip. And on sport, Hotstar, once IPL is off that chart, the next IPL will be a big test for Hotstar, whether they manage to retain their numbers. My guess is not. And that's a limit that they have set for themselves. Right? That's their limit. So you're going to see it in every industry. And I think publication you're already seeing in publication, because end of the day, how much utility does a news product give you is a big factor in what you subscribe to and don't subscribe to, or at least cancel a subscription to.